Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming to this episode of the Exact Marketing Podcast. Today, I have Andrew with me. Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your agency?
Yes, Tasha. My name is Andrew Morgans. I go by Drew. For everybody else that is looking me up, so there's a lot of Drew out there. But I've been in the Amazon space for 15 years. Our Amazon turns 11 this year, so I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years. Time flies, like it's crazy to say that. We're a team of 28. We focus, like we consider ourselves a marketplace agency now at this point. I think whenever we started, it was very Amazon only, Amazon focused. We were very new, blue ocean, nobody doing it. We've got a decade plus of being on the Amazon platform, but we've expanded to other marketplaces now. So we're a certified marketplace partner for TikTok Shop, Walmart, eBay, Amazon. Kind of the big four there, but there's some smaller ones. And think of it like the way that we help. There's a lot of different ways that we help. Think about a manufacturer trying to go direct with their own product line and really using Amazon as a launching pad platform. Think of brands that might have been having resellers or distributors selling them on Amazon, and they're ready to bring that in-house. They have expertise in-house now, an e-commerce manager or something to that regard, and they're like, how do we take back control of our listings on Amazon, of our brand on Amazon? We have a bunch of different distributors selling our product. We want to make sure that the content is uniform and consistent. We want to make sure our messaging is right. Maybe they have old packaging photos on Amazon that they can't get rid of. So like that manufacturer going direct, that brand trying to take control, or even like we've had some of the biggest food brands in the world. You do the math there. I won't say it on air, but we've had some of the biggest food brands in the world redoing all of their content and branding on Amazon. So new, fresh looks, making sure the A+ pages and the images on the left are like, really sharp. If you've ever seen, I assume you shop on Amazon, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Too much. Way too
right,
much.
like, have you ever seen a product that maybe has like one photo and you just like, is this the right thing I'm trying to buy? Or is like, you look around and there can be a big difference between products. Some of them are like really built out and look sharp, and some of them are just like has one photo or something like that. So we come in and we make them beautiful. We make them look good, on top of like the keyword strategy and SEO and advertising. We were talking about DSP and OTT ahead of the show, and so as the brands grow, we start moving them into display and different type of advertising like that. So I'll take a pause, but in general, we work with all types of brands, companies, specifically around the marketplaces like Amazon and Walmart.
Absolutely. That's great. So can you tell us like any unique challenges that you've encountered? Like what kind of got you into the space? Like, how did it happen, and what are some of the things and challenges that you guys have overcome?
Yeah, so I went to school for computer science and got a job in networking and security at a knock, which is just like at MasterCard Global. I was like monitoring networks, and I hated it. Like I was doing well there out of school. I got a promotion the first year, but I just hated the work. It was more reactionary, more weight on something to break, and for 15 or 20 minutes when something broke, it was a lot of fun trying to like problem solve. But the other 11 hours and 40 minutes on the shift was just brutal, So I was looking for something new. I took a chance at a startup, I guess almost 15 years ago, and we were putting car parts online at the time. Like by the thousands. Okay, so car parts just weren't really online. You had like eBay selling some stuff, but Amazon definitely not. And so we were contacting small manufacturers from all over the US, some big, some large, some small. Think tonneau covers, think trailer hitches, think trailer lights, and really contacting them, getting their parts lists, because there weren't images. Like, you used to have to go into an O'Reilly and say, I have this type of car and I need this type of windshield wiper. And they would look up your part serial number, and give it to you. That's how you got parts. And now we can just go online, put in our make and model, and, we find it. Well, I was involved in that in the early days. And I really just fell in love by, putting two parts together, making a banner around them, like with Photoshop, and creating a bundle that hadn't existed before because I'm doing all the thinking for a customer by saying you need this ball mount, and this trailer wiring, and this hitch, and here's a combo deal, and putting that up and seeing it sell in 30 minutes. I was just hooked. Like, I understand why people get hooked at the casino or something because like for me that was like cha-ching, and it was no looking back. But like that's really how I got my very first start into e-commerce and Amazon. And from there, right, it's been 15 years, and I went from that startup to an actual e-commerce manager at a medium-sized toy retailer in Kansas City,
Okay.
maybe 200 employees or so. And I was in the e-commerce. I was like the first e-commerce person they had on their team, and they had a design team and customer service and bookkeeping and the brand managers and the marketing managers and the technology department. And I named my company Marknology because as the e-commerce manager, I was hired by the technology department, but working with marketing all day, every day. And I kind of felt like I was in the middle. And I called these lunches between the two teams once a month. That was kind of my job as well. And I called it the Marknology lunch, the marketing and technology lunch. And I feel like e-commerce kind of, you need both of those things. You need to be tech, um, you know, proficient. You need to be tech proficient, but there's also a big element of marketing and storytelling and that comes into the advertising and marketing piece. And so my name's not Mark, my name's Drew. But that was like kind of, the start of that really like that toy company. We grew sales on Amazon by 1.5 million the first year, another million the second year. And that was like a really bright light in that company at the time. And so I was getting a lot of just attention, and I was like loving it because I was just finding success, and it felt like just doing these little small technical things like getting the images right and getting keywords in the copy and running advertising around keywords that people might type in to find it in the early days of Amazon was a lot of success. And from going from that startup to the toy company, I essentially got a very small raise at the toy company, which pushed me into freelancing on the side. Freelancing on the side, I got top 10 in the world on Upwork. If you guys know what Upwork is, it's like a
Yeah, yeah.
freelancer site. But way back then, there was no one doing Amazon. Now there's hundreds and thousands of people there. But I was just saying, hey, I'm a guy, moonlighting. I do this in the daytime for a company, and if you need help, let me know. And I just started solving problems for people on Amazon, whether it was listing like catalog issues. Amazon has been always a dark, like very like a darkness over it in regards to like the data and visibility that they give you. And so you don't get a lot of help. There's not a lot of answers. Support is automated. And it gave birth to this like third party world, which is us essentially, of service providers coming in. My clients were coming from Upwork. Once I got top 10 in the world, it was just like, an overload of customers coming through Upwork at the time. And it wasn't really the brands of today and manufacturers, like legitimate brands. It was um, 9 to 5, corporate people that wanted to be entrepreneurs, people trying to leave their 9 to 5, and like that real entrepreneurial type was really the type to pioneer Amazon in a similar way that creators are pioneering TikTok Shop today.
Absolutely.
Right? It was like really how it was on Amazon. And so I was just getting hired. It wasn't like full service, like help me take this brand to market. It was more so, I have a catalog with 10,000 SKUs. How do I get it up? Or how do I make these listings combine into a variation? Or my account got suspended. How do you help me out? Or can you help me write SEO for all of these listings and help me write copy? Can you help me get photos, added to all of my products? The software tools didn't exist out there to help you. So everything was really Excel files, CSV, really understanding the back end. And my computer science degree, really, like I took 5 or 6 programming classes and things like that in college, really helped me in the early days of Amazon when I was doing stuff like, without a calculator, 2 + 2 = 4 type of thing, concatenating Excel. And I know it's a lot of background, but it's like, how do you get into something? It really just started like that. And I started putting the different areas that I was working in into kind of these buckets, and was like, I think I need a team to help me with this. I'm not the best photographer or graphic design, but I have a good eye. I can tell you, what needs to be done. I needed help. So I needed and freelancers weren't working. They weren't obsessing about Amazon the same way I was. So I needed them to obsess. I needed them to just think about my platform, not everything else they're doing. And so it just made sense for me to build a team. And it started, a bootstrap team. So it started with started with one and then two, maybe for a couple of years. And then, the pandemic definitely accelerated everything to that end, but it was already growing. Started speaking around the country around like 2018. And now I've actually been all over the world speaking in Europe. Did Prague last year. That was a lot of fun. And
Awesome.
the US has a lot of conferences and stuff now in the Amazon industry, but being based out of Kansas City was important to start traveling. It's just crazy to start something that when you would mention being an Amazon agency or helping brands on Amazon, they had no idea what you were talking about, to now it being a worldwide kind of industry, and being a part of that has been super, super cool. So we solve, I guess, the long story short, how I got into it, fell into it or stumbled into it. And, the problems that we were solving then were just anything and everything. And I was just saying, hey, I know how to do two out of three. I'll learn the third one together. And you add up 10 years plus, and you just start, you start all of a sudden having a lot of knowledge. So yeah, I'll pause there for a breath.
Absolutely. No, that's wonderful. That's great. I think the best agencies are the ones who started from the bootstraps and learned how to problem solve and really found their niche and, have really just grown from that and just an organic growth. I think that people who have the hearts for helping people, and I think that that is people recognize that for sure. And so I think it's great to, just be able to help people. Like that's what I love about my job is I feel like I truly make a difference for people. So it's definitely rewarding for sure. So
100%. Like, I mean, locally, I love Kansas City. If you like, there's a running joke that only people from Kansas City wear Kansas City shirts or like love Kansas City that much that they're wearing their city. But we do. We have a lot of pride, a lot of hometown pride here, and always loved working with local businesses. But what better than to take a local business and expand them into Amazon Canada or expand them nationally on Amazon, because you get launched on Amazon and you're not running Facebook ads locally. You're marketing to all of the U.S. and getting them exposure that they could never get. And while everyone sees Amazon and Bezos as this monopoly, this giant, I want to argue. I don't. I keep my mouth shut. But in my mind, I'm like, do you know how many small businesses we've helped like on this platform that is called Amazon, and how much exposure we've gotten for brands, small and large alike. And I mentioned before on air that I come from a missionary family, grew up in Congo till I was 16, very close with my family. My sisters work with me. At first it was the three of us. Now there's, I guess, 28 of us, but it was me and my sisters. Really, they believed in what I was doing. But there's still that educational piece to what we do. Like, my parents were teachers and educators, and outside of this, the helping people and helping do that, there's a lot of storytelling in mission work or preacher work or whatever, that storytelling element. So we kind of found our niche in a weird way in business, which is educating people about the market fees and what does expansion look like and how are you storytelling. Because any businesses that are getting into this area, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of learning to it. All of the fees, the marketing, the logistics arm of sending product into FBA and Amazon Prime. And we have resellers we've never shipped. We've only done pallet in, pallet out. Now we're shipping individual orders. Like, what, these are, for some brands and some companies, this is overwhelming, and so really just stepped in as a service to be able to help them walk through any areas of expanding in ecom.
no, that's great. That's wonderful. So what are some of the trends in marketing that you're actually seeing take off that, might not have been as prevalent, but are really just out the gate right now?
Well, a little tactical thing I would say is, as shipping costs have gone up and tariffs are getting enacted and inflation has gone up and all these things, it used to be easier to sell like an individual one-off product. Okay, like, just easier to sell a hat. Maybe a hat is not a good example. Maybe something like this. I've got a little cigar tray here. But now it really is like a trend that I'm seeing, like something that's starting to work, is like you have to just get more tactical with the way that you're selling. So selling instead of just selling, let's say I have a tattoo. I'll use a real world example. So I have a tattoo aftercare product, right? So it's all natural. I think I wish I could say it is the best product on the market in regards to the cleanest. just the ingredients. It's the formulation that we got was from a scientist that like he came to me about it, so I just know that it's a really clean product. Well, to the consumers out there, what about our product is different? We have one single product that we're launching with, we're going to market with. It looks really cool. We've tried to approach the like not black tattoo shop type of appeal. It's really colorful. It's like, feel good in your skin. It's called Skin Fuel. That's the approach we've been going. But we were having a meeting about like, how do we make this stand out? There's so many different types of customers that are into tattoos. Now there's all ages, all age range, all types of tattoos. Do we just talk about being the cleanest product? And the move that we've been going into, which is like working for us, is we started creating a kit for people with new tattoos, right? So unscented soap, if you've ever got a tattoo, everyone says use unscented. Most people don't have unscented at their house unless they've already had an issue. So we've got the unscented soap, we've got the aftercare product, we've got like some cleaning cloths in it, and we've turned it into like a kit instead of that individual product. And now we're marketing as a gift. It's in the gift category as well as new tattoos, right? So it's just like a lot of brands and companies are reframing their product to get a little bit larger price point, a little bit more niche into whatever they're doing. That's why you see like the Manscaped and the Ballsy, which are like men's hygiene products, that it's just getting more niche. It's not that razors didn't already exist or deodorant didn't already exist or soap, but it's like this is made for men or this is made for a new person getting a tattoo. So that's a trend that I'm just seeing across TikTok Shop, across Walmart, across Amazon as fees are rising and everything like that is like, how do you get your AOV up? How do you get just a little bit more precise with exactly who you're trying to target or date? And then I mentioned TikTok Shop, but as far as like trending things, I want to give something that was universal, but then just so much attention on TikTok and TikTok Shop. I know there was like the ban, but we know that that was kind of just a joke to get Gen Z on board with Trump and his agenda there for TikTok. So I was hoping they stayed, and they stayed. But it's been a big breath of fresh air, a big light for a lot of our brands, trying to get lower cost per click, trying to get more exposure that's not just on Amazon, trying to find another marketplace where if you're a young brand or a creative, you can kind of pioneer and get a start there. So I would say between the two, niching down even more and just being real creative around your product offering. And can you gift box it? Can you variety pack it? Can you bundle it? And then, of course, TikTok Shop.
Awesome. And can you speak to influencers a little bit? Because I mean, that is to me, just as a consumer, I have just seen so much change in the industry from having influencers introduce products and I'll tell you, dang it, they hook, line, and sinker me every single time. It's very emotional and I feel like, okay, they came at me with that ad was designed for me. So speak to that
There,
just a little bit.
Well, they're listening. I do think that they're listening because it's so often like I'll be hanging with my buddy and we're just talking about something and then he pulls up his Instagram and the first ad running to him is something we talked about. So I don't know how they're doing all of that. I don't think we all know, but I do think that it's happening. And there's actually like, I live and breathe and sleep this stuff. So when I think of influencers, there's a difference I think that a lot of listeners maybe don't understand. And they do, but they don't. They put them in the same bucket. So like an influencer is someone with influence, right? So what I mean by that is they actually have a network or a circle of people, that they have influence over. So for me, for example, I'm an influencer in the Amazon space. Okay, so if I go to an Amazon conference, if you're looking at pros in the Amazon space, whatever, I have influence there. If I'm talking about a software or a podcast or whatever, I don't have influence in baseball or influence in at my church or influence at different things. I'm not an influencer in that regard, right? So influencers are people that have influence, right? So meaning if you come across a stranger influencer, that's more rare than it's someone already reaching a network that they have, right? Maybe someone shares it with you, whatever. Then there's creators, okay? And creators are less about like people following them for a certain thing. It's not that they're into fitness and people are following them. These are just people that are really good at telling stories, really good at making videos and editing them to tell a story, really good at creating those unboxing videos or those like get dressed with me or the DIYs. And they're not mutually exclusive. So you don't have to have influence to be a creator, and to be a creator you don't have to have so one is just thinking about the two like that. I think the core thing, because I try to simplify every complex thing into a simple way of understanding it, right? So I use all these relationship examples and stuff, and for me with influence it's really just about trust. And I think a lot of the advertising companies, the big advertisers of the world, the big brands of the world, the government, all types of things like the big entities have lost trust with the public. Like you'll sell me, Cialis, and I'm 25 and don't need it, and you guys are marketing it to me like I need it, and it comes with 55,000 side effects, right? Like it just is crazy what they have to say at the end of those commercials, right? Like so we've lost trust, I think, with general media like that in a lot of ways. And what's happened is it's just shifted, and it's shifted to I've been following this person for 2 years about fitness. They're consistent. I trust what they're saying. Look at their body. Look at their shape, the shape they're in. I want that. They tell me about a product, and they're getting my trust versus the commercial I'm seeing on TV or anything like that. So it's really just the American public's attention has shifted. I do think that there's so many people trying to be influencers and creators because it's kind of a trending thing that it's also lost some of its appeal because it's just like every single person has an opinion about something and they're trying to get you to buy it instead of just, we used to follow a few people growing up. Like, growing up, there was a few people we listened to on the news or a few people we listened to about in the newspaper, a few like thought leaders. Now we have just a thought leader about everything, I think. But UGC, it's all about trust building. And especially if you have a product that needs trust involved to get that purchase. A huge opportunity right now. And obviously they're on Amazon, they're on TikTok, they're on Walmart even. Each of these platforms have their own creator network. A lot of creators or influencers are on both of them, and you can kind of see the differences, but great opportunity, great way to grow your brand. It's almost like word of mouth made digital.
No, absolutely, for sure. Couple of more questions. I know we're about out of time here.
Yeah.
Tell me how you approach client retention and like ensure long-term relationships. What are some of the things that you as an agency do that maybe
Yeah.
is different than others?
Well, I think this is something we can still get better at. Okay. And I think one thing I'm trying to do better at client retention is continuing to sell my clients internally. And I don't mean upsell. I mean continue to sell them. It's like continuing to date your wife that you've been married to for 20 years. You got to continue to date her. You got to continue to take her out on dates, make her feel appreciated, make her feel loved. And I think the same way with your clients. In a way, whatever that looks like for you. So for us, it's like doing a quarterly business review and making that, part of our system. The sales guy, maybe me, maybe the account manager on that account, getting back in front of them and being like, hey, I know life's going on, business is crazy, but look at these areas that we're still making progress. Look at these areas that we're winning because they have their focus, right? And sometimes it's on us to kind of continue to remind them what we're working on, the bigger picture. So for retention, been working on getting a better process for QBRs internally. It was something that I'm almost like, you should just assume that they should like see the results we're getting and just appreciate that. And I think that's a bad attitude. That's a bad way of approaching it. So, because when you get busy, there's so much work. Slowing down to do a QBR on a brand you're already doing well with is the least of your worries. But these are the types of things that we're working on to just kind of keep retention high. Another thing that I'm really working on with my sales team is essentially not trying to get the highest price dollar that we can for the service, specifically at the beginning, because what you'll get is you'll get them at that rate because they're having to come to you for whatever the problem is, or they know you're the best. You get them for a year at that higher rate. Now you've taken care of some of the problems. Let's say you've got 50% of the problems, or you've got growth, or whatever. In your mind, you're like, well, we got rid of all those problems. You should still remember. But what's going to happen is as other issues in their business come up, cash flow, different things, they're going to get approached by a bunch of other agencies during that year, whatever. And they see that you were kind of at the very high end of that price range, and they can get someone in the middle to just keep managing what you've now fixed. You can't hold it against them for going and getting that. So what I've been trying to do is either set up a tiered system where after we get a large amount of those issues, we bring the price down. And actually, like most people don't want to do that because you're like, if I've got them, let's keep them. But the other one is just not going for that maximum amount of dollar, because if they do get shopped around and they find that you're more average or you're like above average, whatever, you know what I mean, more comparable, they're not going to leave. So it's just opening up that communication more, continuing to sell internally, and then not pricing yourself at the very high end, even if you can demand that, because what you do is sure you're getting more AOV per client, you're getting more profitability per client, but your churn rate is going to be higher. So I think it's a delicate balance. It comes down to relationship and still trying to find find ways where if Andrew is the relationship in the agency, because I haven't scaled above that point, if they still want some of that, how do I get in front without losing my mind? How do I get in front of my clients more and continue to touch and check in on them and make sure things are good?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll add to that, something that I really try to focus on is what I call the wow factor. And that is at every touch point that the client is wowed, and I really try to treat the business as we are friends. And it is me helping my friend with their business and really giving them that white glove service, so that, and I say, if your clients don't become your friends, you're probably doing it wrong, and
Yeah,
so
but Tasha, what I will say to that, because I know my team would chime in here if they was a fly on the wall, and they'd say, "Well, make sure you choose good friends."
that is
So that is a big part of making sure we have clients that we can treat like a friend,
absolutely.
versus getting somebody inside your circle, you're treating them like a friend, and they're treating you like, like you're, a paid worker. And that doesn't, if your friend's treating you that way, it's not going to go along well, especially if I'm asking the team to act friendly and they're not being friendly. So that's on me too. If we want to have that environment, if we want to have that type of culture, then you just have to be selective on who you're choosing as
Absolutely.
clients.
I've heard that more and more from agencies over the last few years, is that agencies have been a little more selective of who they're working with, and they want to make sure that those are great and fruitful relationships. And, you can't fault anybody for that, because I think, sometimes if it's just not a great fit, it's great for them to go find somebody who is a fit rather than let's try to force it to make it work. I think that it really makes a lot of sense to have those great relationships. So big fan of that
Yeah, you're right. And it's like it
philosophy.
really, as we get international, cultures change a lot. What I found about international clients is like they're a lot slower to trust. They're going to be a lot more like cold at the beginning. Once you get in, then you're there for life. Like you're definitely in. But the cultures can be a lot different in the way that they write emails and the way that they're talking. And so trying to figure out, is this a cultural difference? Is this just like language barrier or something to do with that, or is it the right fit for us? Because one bad client, if I have an account manager that's got 8 calls that day, 6 calls that day, and their first call of the day is a jerk, right? It's affecting every other call they have that day, right? And so even as an owner, that you want revenue in your business, I still try to be as careful as possible to just picking partners, picking friends, picking partners that we're going to grow with, because when you're a creative, like when you're an advertiser, you're giving part of your creative energy to that project, and it can be toxic as well if it's not reciprocated, if it's not appreciated. It's something that people don't really understand unless you've done that job. But to take a portion of yourself, a portion of your heart, your soul, whatever, and put it into something that then is not appreciated, it is way bigger than that one client, is all I'm
No,
saying.
absolutely. That's a great piece of advice, I think, for anybody, is pick your friends well. That's a great one. So I know we are about out of time here, so I do want to give the opportunity for any agency partners or prospective clients who are really looking for your services. What's the best way to get in touch?
I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Morgans with an S. There's not very many of us, so there's just one Andrew Morgans that should show up. But also our website, www.marknology.com, marknology.com. We have contact form. You can see some of our portfolio work. We have a YouTube where I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I try to be everywhere that I'm telling people to be. So would love to interact with anyone and everyone.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I appreciated you being here for sure.
Thank you, Tasha.